Check, 1 2. Check, 1 2. Johnny, they can hear you now. Check, 1 2. Check, 1 2. Let's go to it. YouTube has made this extremely inconvenient to do with their new format and platform and interface, but we're gonna do it anyways because wanna know what's not extremely inconvenient? Johnny B. Crazy from the House of Conqueror. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right. Inconvenience still up in the air. You know, I'm kind of an asshole, but I do enjoy talking about this show. And John Taylor, I really like this show as well. Raised by Wolves is surprisingly good, and I'm glad you invited me on to talk about it. Needed to kill a little time today anyway. Plus, good gosh, man, there's some huge plot points. There's some bombs they be dropping right now. So I am excited to talk about it, man.
Well, House of Conqueror, and you can find his link in the information below. We're always happy to have Johnny. He is one of the leading intellectuals and insights into the story overall. No, I mean, it's actually true. And we just watched the last episode live together because I have been behind because of real life work. And we just finished it, right, Johnny? For all clarity here.
We did. We did.
I'm
Eye
look.
for an eye has a whole new meaning to me now. Um, there's a few things to really unwrap. They lay it on you, as we were saying.
Yeah.
It was pretty fun to be able to watch it together with someone here during this lockdown.
Yeah,
People aren't
absolutely.
watching stuff together too much.
Yeah, we got to do that community vibe. But no, it's always a joy. And I was going through it because I'd watch episode 8 on my own. And episode 9, we just literally finished at 4:56 p.m. So I'm fresh off the boat with this one. And Johnny's going to kind of guide us. And I just want to say thank you to everybody because this series never, at least not yet, has failed me. Like I was telling Johnny, I don't know what to say, man. Like the character dynamic, the struggle, the conflict, the inciting incident, like it just keeps changing. I was like, okay, so now I got a grasp on it. Sue's with Paul, Campion, or Sue's with Campion and Paul is with Caleb, blah, blah, blah. And now we've got this whole other dynamic. We've got a potential third party, which I've been predicting, and we've got all of these excellent philosophical insights. And this is something I've been really just happy about in general, is the general over the table, no veiled, no allegorical like actual messages. Like it's pretty overt in its message, and it's making us ask real questions. And it kind of goes with my mad theologian theory. We'll get into it, but episode 8, we start off and we have a situation in which we have Mother is now pregnant somehow. What do you take from this, Johnny? Take us away. I just want to say hi to our Patreons as well and our people. I know I just set you up right there for the post and I messed it up. That's a bad DJ thing. I used to be really good at it, but I'm a little bit bewildered. I'm trying to get my thoughts together. So we got episode club, Mackenzie L. Burns. We'll be doing Brave New World together. Mackenzie's always our girl. That's Sasa. She is the green seer and she is the oracle within the Viking community. John Taylor, what's up? Amberlyn McKay. You are one of the best, one of my best friends, John Taylor and Bruce Seymour. I hope you enjoyed it. Let us know, Bruce, because we're always interested in your thoughts on this, because you're one of the main proponents of this actual series. So I know you're really into it, and you really have a good mind for the type of actual storytelling. But Johnny, so Mother is pregnant. Let's start there.
Yeah, she is pregnant, giving a whole new meaning to the previous episode where we got the Jurgen scene. That makes a whole lot more sense now. But this is as we were talking about earlier, it's an immaculate conception event, a miracle in every sense in the word. And it has something to do with what we heard of as dark photons, this mysterious thing that no one really knows about. It apparently came from the heavens, but I think this is going to be really good for the show, and it makes us question, the reality of whether or not these humans are going to be human by the end of this. Are they going to carry on? Is there going to be more than one faction breaking up with this? Are they all going to stay together? But the real impact is, what does motherhood do to Mother? Once she has this baby, she's already become more protective. She's even kind of losing it mentally a little bit. She's showing vast amounts of human emotion, even to the medical robot that she was hooked up to earlier, when they thought it was a silicon tumor, but ends up being an actual fetus, which blows my mind. And, it's a story. And I think this is a good aspect to the story because it brings up many questions, like later when Sue, in the next episode 9, the conversation with Sue about babies and why Sue is empathetic to a child that isn't hers, and she's not programmed. But are humans programmed? Is their DNA programming? All of these questions that get brought up just in these couple of episodes. Um, and it was this really Campion Sturgis's plan, Justin? Do you think this was really his plan all along?
You know it. Listen, I'm all about the Campion Sturgis planned it all for this series, and I'm all against the Ford planned it all. But what Johnny just said not only was detailed, but it's actually very accurate and applicable in the sense of we need to look at what happened in these last 2 episodes. We see a lot of allegiances being formed. We see father. We see the ability for these androids to have agency within their programming. Would you say that's fair? That with the father thread, Johnny.
Yeah, there seems to be a little something there, a hint of actual real emotion, whatever it's worth.
He's got wiggle room.
Yeah, a hint of consciousness. And it turns out the whole time, old Trigger Finger was doing Morse code for the actual, what's it called? The password to get into a system. So
Yeah.
it ends up being pretty cool.
Shout out
The
to a
father-
content creator that actually called that out. Not that I think they're
Nice.
about the same size as me as far as channel goes. I don't think they got back to me. I messaged them, so no credit. No, I can't remember who it was. It might have been one take, but somebody called that out that it might have been Morse code. I took it as just like a emotional like effect like on him when he was in the shootout. But yeah, it actually was Morse code. So we see a certain amount of agency within them. Now, my overarching theory is that Campion Sturgis is doing a theologian's sandbox here, meaning like he sees Kepler 22, which by the way is not, and I've been corrected. You know who you are, who corrected me. It's not within our galaxy. It's one of the planets that we've discovered outside of our galaxy, in which would
the first one in the Goldilocks zone of
yeah,
a habitable solar system, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah. He told him, yeah, Goldilocks zone. So yeah, we got you, pal. We'll tell you what kissing a girl feels like around. But anyways, yeah, he wasn't very nice about it. So anyways, yeah, so we have this situation in which we have this virgin planet that's obviously had some source of life on it. The same kind of contradiction in which you get with spirituality and evolution within our planet with the dinosaurs and so forth. But we also have a situation in which I thought the dynamic had changed so drastically, right? Between Paul and Campion, which we get the Romulus and Remus confirmation. I'll pat myself on the back. This is about the only one I'm going to get for this one. I need to do another rewatch. But we also get a Sue and Paul connection. But surprisingly, now Campion and Mother and Sue and Paul seem to be in the same group. This character dynamic, guys, keeps surprising me, and that is really good. Like, that's a really good tale. Like, I'm not gonna shit on Westworld here because I really love it, but like, just imagine, like, we kind of saw the setup for May versus Dolores to a point. They keep merging and switching it on us and giving us these situations in which we have to think about philosophy, theology. We have to think about the human condition and all of these, just dynamics that are very intriguing, and the reason in which we do these shit streams stuff like this. Johnny, like, were you surprised about the amount of like
Well,
allegiances, and which I never would have thought? First off, that we would have had Paul and Sue. Now we got Paul, Sue, Campion, and Mother, like all lingering on the side, and we'll get into Caleb in a bit here. But I think we saw quite a bit in these last two episodes that is very intriguing, and it's very dynamic storytelling. Just, I mean, playing out. It's just good storytelling.
it it is, and I did think they were all going to have to come together. I thought it was going to be more of an outside force. This ended up being an internal force, at least for the Mithraic cult, whatever you want to call them. They were, you know, it broke up from the inside, right? We've seen Sue questioning Caleb's motivations, or Marcus, whatever you would like to call him, his motivations, to beginning throughout a few episodes ago. And we have found out that she really, really actually cares for Paul. Now, whereas Caleb seems to care for the idea of Paul, what Paul represents, and Caleb seems to have been lost on this "I will be king," uh, the king dream is what I'll call it. Eh, but Sue coming to Mother, I always thought was kind of going to happen, because they both encapsulate that matriarchal figure. Um, and you have this third matriarchal figure, the human being that's pregnant, and Tempest, which I think throws a huge, another huge wrench into the story. Is one going to be favored over the other? Will they favor the human baby over the baby that they don't, that's half human? Maybe it's kind of up in the air, but I think it's a beautiful thing, them being able to bond on a level like this. It shows the humanity that Mother has gained throughout her experiences, because if you remember from the pilot, she was merely an android, but she became Mother, and it really comes to a head in in episode 9.
Well, I think it's really interesting what you just said there about that. You know, her primary directive is pretty much what you just said. Mother is to be, you know, a character, to be a mother. Yeah, not to be redundant, but that is it. To be the caregiver. So when you have somebody like Tempest, which I've been, you know, a fan of her story thread, because unfortunately it's applicable, and unfortunately it's a very relevant thing that we deal in which today. You know, she is capable of having a child organically, as we would say organically, you know, the way in which we would define an organic
That's
birth.
androidist.
Yeah, I know, but the way in which we would define it. But then we have two people, like Johnny just said, Sue, who is a human, and then we have Mother, who is a necromancing android, that their goal is to be a mother, but physically, genetically, technically, they're not able to do it. So they're all stuck with the situation. It's this excellent, you know, unstoppable force against an immovable object, right? Like, it is, they want to have kids, but they can't. So the one that can have kids doesn't want the child, because she is a victim of this atrocity, you know, this rape, this atrocious event. So you have,
And does she eventually become jealous of Mother?
yeah,
This
they,
is the initial meetup, right? She hasn't had that much time to process it.
no, not at all. No, and it's very moving, and I actually don't think it's rushed. I think that it is, you should understand that somebody that is a victim of a circumstance of that Tempest is, that you would understand or empathize, which is different than sympathize, with her plight. But Mother and Sue also have a lot in common, in the sense of they want to have children, and they both have been turned aesthetically into some point, not so much with Sue, but emotionally into something to cloak themselves, would be a better phrasing of it, right? That they
Yeah,
aren't.
and
Everybody
I
can't
think
be themselves, but their wants and needs stay the same.
going back to Campion Sturgis, and I think this may be something, we've seen them come together, and inevitably, when someone comes together in a TV show, you got to break them up, right?
Yeah.
At some point. What could break them up? Well, Campion Sturgis, or at least AI Campion, if that's the real him. I have doubts whether that's the real Campion. Justin thinks it's possibly the real Campion Sturgis.
Mad theologian.
Regardless, whatever that is, doesn't seem to think of humanity in the best light. They're just going to destroy themselves over and over, like Ford from Westworld, like we were talking about earlier. Who you think Campion is a Ford,
Mm-hmm.
and I like that. He is going to hold on, lost my thought here. No, he is going to inject something. He may even try to convince Mother to kill them, to kill Tempest's baby, because the future of her baby is at stake. This would cause, at the very least, I think, Mother to leave and try to go start something on her own. But I think it can definitely get more complicated than that, especially with everything they've set up. We could have Sue just do something out of jealousy or do something out of fear. Most people make bad decisions out of fear and ignorance, right? What you don't know can hurt you because you make the wrong decision about it once it's brought up. So I think it's a good conflict, and Campion Sturgis is right in the middle of it, whatever that is. I happen to think it's some kind of AI intelligence having to do with dark photons, which I need to do some research on, and hopefully, who was
No,
it? John
just wing
Taylor
it.
said
Just
there's a
wing the
comic
dark
book
photons.
backstory, so maybe there's a little backstory about the dark photons in the comic book and the Necromancer. So I'll have to check in on that. But
well, what I really think is interesting is that we have this dynamic and this conflict within our characters that's expressed to us within these final 2 episodes before the finale. Now, we're going to be putting out a video that's going to be the top 5 things in which we need to know. It's going to actually be a pre-recorded video, thanks to Johnny. We're working in collaboration about the things we want to know and need to know before we understand now that is a 2-season. We're going to play it off it like this. We know for sure they're commissioned for 2 seasons. So we are going to give you 5 things that we need to find out. It'll be coming out in the next 3 days before these seasons, or by the end of this season, meaning within the season. Now, what's interesting about this scenario is there is all this conflict in which I did not see. And I hate the Ford plan at all in Westworld, and I'm a complete hypocrite in every sense of the world. Word in every aspect of life, but at the same time, everybody, in my opinion, is being challenged philosophically, theologically, everything's being challenged within their lives, and everybody's being put into these conflicts. Because when we talk about the future of humanity surviving, right? Now, does that mean that Mother needs to have her child or Tempest needs to have her child? We don't know because it can be taken in so many.
Child's name Norman Bates.
Yeah, but we're faced with a lot of very, very complex decisions, and we're faced with a lot of, like, there's this old saying, if you've ever read The Storytelling Animal, you'll know that a shark kills about 3 people a year, but yet a picture of a shark embraces fear within mankind, meaning we are not people that base our decisions off of fact. We're not logical people. We're emotion-driven beings. We see a shark, give it bloody teeth. Oh my goodness. You're all gonna die. But we kill thousands of sharks a year. It doesn't matter.
Deer kill far more people.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, like I have this conversation all the time. I'm not to get off track, but I have this conversation all the time with people. Is confusing the point of you're right, meaning like, oh, what is better for people in your opinion, opposed to what's actually going to be applicable to them, meaning like, oh, well, they should know they could get higher wages through a union or this or that. No, people don't think like that. They embrace a idea. The medium is the message. They look at who's giving it to them, they embody that, they look at that as good or bad, and they take it from there. We're kind of seeing that because we're kind of seeing now everybody is in this like dilemma. Mother is in a dilemma now because she is no longer just an android that is set to, help gestate organic beings, right, Johnny? She is now having her own. Now, this is a thing that I've said a million times, actually, for all stories that we've talked about on this channel. But what would a mother do for her child? Is it anything? That answer is usually anything. So now, mother having a child throws a wrench in this game. It doesn't actually embrace or, I would say, increase the chances of human life. It actually decreases, in my opinion, because she will do anything for her child, right? That can go really bad, guys, because Jeffrey Dahmer had a mother that would do anything for her child. And that anything literally means anything. There's this sentimental connection in which we thought we were
Hey,
devoid
Sonny,
of.
would you like me to hide the body for you?
Exactly.
Hey, would you
But
like
I mean,
grilled cheese
it's a little
while you
abstract,
dig
but
the
at the
grave?
same time, I find it to be very intriguing because they really spun this on me. This show has had a lot more depth than I thought, especially for being as above the table. Me and Johnny just watched it live together. I was like, holy shit, dude. Like, I was like geeking out the whole time. I'm like, they are laying it out right now and giving us contradictions within our own life, within our own society, in which are hard to deal with. Meaning, if mother has a child, now I really don't know exactly how she's having a child. I guess the only thing we could relate that to is her experience with Campion Sturgis. So she had a love interest, but this is not gestation in a biological way in which we're familiar with. The point is her child is going to take precedent over the rest of the children. Would you agree with that?
Yes, and you got whatever presence on that planet wants her child to be born. We've seen this, and it doesn't want her to find out the truth, or anyone for that matter. Later, we see, and we'll talk about this a little more in depth. Paul burning the information plates, or the data plates, is what I'll call them for now, which they just seem to have encrypted data all on them, just like any type of quartz, for example, the crystal skulls. Like you can put computer data. You can put code in there that can be interpreted just as mother interpreted this. But uh, whatever is going on is manipulating these events. And this goes back to what happened to Marcus, because we'll go back to episode 8 really quick. And Dante S. Great comment. I agree. So disappointed in Marcus. He went from possible hero to crazy false prophet guy very quickly, and he may be an ultimate baddie in the season, in this finale, and we'll get into why in a little bit. But we see him just becoming a zealot, becoming a victim to hallucinations. They may or may not be hallucinations. Becoming a victim to these voices in his head and this, what do you call it, Justin, when you think you have the right to be king? There's a term for it.
Uh,
It'll come to me in a second.
I
Like
would.
manifest destiny or whatever. He has these delusions of grandeur, basically,
Yes.
for lack of a better term. He thinks he is the king of this world, and this has manipulated him. He started off as an atheist. He has forgot completely who he is. We see him cut his face off in this episode, and it's really indicative of him just losing himself. Right, whereas Sue didn't. She kept a perspective, but also Sue didn't touch that dodecahedron, and have the word of God spit in his ears, or at least, what we think to be is
That we
some
saw.
sort of God,
Well, she's
portraying itself
residing
as
within
God.
reality, right?
Yes, yes, and he is
Or her
paranoid,
reality.
delusional. I mean, he's so paranoid. He's paranoid of his child, but he was right. Everything he's been paranoid of, he's been right about, but he's went about it in such a way that he's insane. When Campion burned down the church, he thought it was a sign from Saul. And it was beautifully illustrated how deep he had gotten into this religious fervor, that he went from a non-believer to religious zealot quick. It also shows you the power of a cult,
Oh yeah.
which I'm not trying to say all religion is a cult, but you know, this is some cult level shit going on. So
Yeah, but what's the difference between a religion and a cult? And to be fair, I'm agnostic, and I've always been fair to religion on this channel because I'm respectful of
I think
storytelling.
taxes are the difference between them. I'm just
Yeah, but Yeah.
Just
Okay. Full disclosure, I've always been very fair to it because I believe empathy is the key to any story. And I think that we should all open our eyes, and I never push an agenda. But at the same time, we've had on this channel, unfortunately, people that like will speak an atheist perspective, like a point of view of like, oh, yeah, there's nothing to this. And then they have no actual reasonable explanation or intelligent explanation for their stance other than they are special because they're from a deity of some sort or a higher power. They are a product of what you would call and this is not even my term, even though it sounds like one, sadly enough, special grade. Look it up. Yeah, not bright. But the point is we're dealing with a lot of people that have a lot of conflict within their own spirituality. We have Caleb and Sue, and I was talking to Johnny when watching this episode. With Sue is a character in which I want to just say brav fucking o, right? Like Sue, I didn't think would, and I mean, I'm not some misogynistic dude or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, it just seemed like she was a throwaway character at first, and it was all going to be about space Ragnar, which everything should be about space Ragnar, even in your own life. Remember that. That's the doctrine me and Johnny subscribe to. But yeah, no, but Sue is a massive draw. She is very intriguing within these last two episodes. She is binding and like within these different ideologies and spiritualities, and she's bringing different people together, and she is a sense of strength, and I think she works just like Tempest works as an audience surrogate, meaning like they're able to ask, what the fuck are you guys talking about when you think you hear soul or this? They're able to be our conscious. They're able to zone in and ask questions that us as an audience want to ask. And I think that Sue has been very pivotal, especially in these last two episodes. We're a little bit all pissed off as Marcus. And what I brought up to Johnny when watching this is, man, I'm like, he's messing up. Like, he is just straight messing up. And I don't think that we have enough information about his past to justify his, conflict. Meaning, we are told that he was a child soldier and woe is me, the whole story. Meaning, like, we should understand that he's troubled and he's conflicted. And Johnny brought up this excellent point. I should have recorded it, that we don't need to feel sorry for Marcus right now. Maybe not at all, but right, Johnny, like you brought up, like, this isn't the point. We're supposed to be frustrated with him. That we're talking about Space Ragnar. Like, we are pissed off at Space Ragnar right now. He's competing with Paul. He's being self-indulgent. We have seen an example of Saul speaking to a rapist. Super Otho, which check my Twitter, called it, had it out there. I get the pat on the back, but it's a bodybuilder on Instagram. But Johnny brought it up. We were watching. I had to pause it. I'm like, dude, I'm not buying this. He goes, you shouldn't have to, right? You don't need to.
Well, yes, because Caleb is when religion goes wrong. Not to say it's all bad, but this is what happens when it goes wrong. This is the route it can take, what power has on the mind. And if we don't get more backstory, because I don't think Caleb's story is over, I still feel like there is enough when you think about it. He was alone. He was orphaned, always looking for acceptance. All of a sudden, God is talking to him, telling him he's important. He's never felt important his entire life. In fact, he can't even be himself. He had to hide his identity just to survive. There's a lot of pain there that you're not supposed to have empathy for, because look what Sue does. She's not a victim. She doesn't let herself play a victim. She stands up for what she thinks right, and she calls bullshit as she sees it. I mean, that's what she does. She's not gonna let any outside influence affect her decision making. She is her own person. Whereas I think Caleb never found himself, never
Yeah.
truly knew who he was.
And I think that speaks so true because and we on this channel try to be just true to the story and not like political things. But let me tell you, a sense of female empowerment is definitely present within Sue, and it's organic. Wanna know why? Because it came out of left field, but it makes sense. She is strong. I didn't see them propping her up as they have, guys. Like, I mean, this is just my opinion. It's subjective, but in a storytelling sense, I look at the, like, you know, the actual structure of the act. And I would think, oh, okay, well, okay, so we're gonna start to, you know, feel a little bit for Sue here, which you get like a semblance of in what, like episode 3. But you know, like for the last 4 episodes, she's pretty much been just like a piece of the scenery, right? She's been a tree. She hasn't. She's there, but she hasn't. You would be inclined to think that she is just part of the scenery, not part of the story. I think she stepped up in a big way. And the most important thing is it's organic too. Like you brought up, like I really think it fits. I mean, I think you agree. I won't speak for you, but I really think it's a dynamic that really fits, not just with her and Paul, but her with Mother and now or not just her and Campion, but now her with Mother and her with Campion as well. Like, how do you feel about this character dynamic? Because we pretty much have like 4 people grouped together that you never would have thought would be a group.
Yeah, I mean, you know, as I was saying, like Sue is driven, you know, seems to be a self-motivated person. Now she may feel like, you know, she's felt like she's had a purpose, but now the dire straits, she's got 2 pregnant females. It's hard to describe both of whatever you know, 2 pregnant beings that she has to look out for. She knows that there's still some of the Mithrax order out there. I'm guessing it's what, 3 plus plus Caleb.
Yeah.
There may be a couple of scragglers. You know, we saw that one guy in the woods when Campion got away, but she probably has a sense of purpose now like never before. But you know, that's we're gonna call into those questions. I think like I was saying earlier, she's it's kind of a beautiful thing for everyone to come together with a common goal. She realizes that Mother isn't just a weapon of mass destruction. There's more to her. There's something special there. Um, you know, and also we have Tempest and just the future of the entire race together. Plus her surrogate son in Paul. Like you were saying, the dynamic is like Full House on steroids, you know? Full House on Kepler 22.
Well, I guess the argument you could make against Sue would be that she's not hindered by these abstract ideals, meaning she is not being hindered by voices from what you know. We'll wrap it up in about 20 minutes, but we want to get into the theories of what is speaking to people and what this third party is, because we've all, I think it's fair to say, we've all assumed that there's going to be a third party that will bind people together, right? But Sue has not been hindered by that. She's been mostly pragmatic in the sense of that's why she's an audience surrogate. Like, she sees things for what they are. The difference between Marcus and Sue is that Marcus has been talked to by some type of omniscient being or artificial being of some sort. So she has not been hindered by.
She's a real mother, right?
Yeah.
You know.
So I guess the first question that we'd have to answer is, what do you think is the, not cause, but what do you think is the actual outcome of Mother being pregnant? Do you think that this was planned? I'm just going to go with my theory. Campion Sturgis implanted within her a sense of desire, a sense of love, a sense of selfness, a sense of personhood that is, you know, selfish, but it's also applicable to caring for your young, because you care about yourself, you care about what you produce. There is that sense of self and that sense of selfishness that is very advantageous within childbearing. And as a mother, like a female, it's scientifically proven, will be more, you know, adept to caring about their health and so forth, because they carry children. Like, these are biological things. They do understand this to a certain point, whether they understand it or not, but scientifically it is a point that they are looking to take care of themselves because they are the future of humanity. I know that that's maybe controversial for some people or whatever, but within this series, we see somebody like Sue that's devoid of that, right? But she's still a caring person, so she wants to help. Mother has been tasked with caring for other children, the gestation period of other people, not her own. So how will this affect our story? I tend to think that this whole situation is going to bring forth not necessarily some super child, in which I've seen theorized, because I see a lot of people saying, oh,
No, I
what's
got
this half
something here.
android, right? Like, oh, it's half android, it's half human. No. And then they'll all be happy. No. I think the very process, the methodology, the actual circumstance is the pinnacle here. This is what I'm talking about. Like, her actually being pregnant or bearing a child to any form puts a totally different spin on her narrative right there. She is not the caregiver anymore. She is the birth giver. So she is birthing actual children. And I think there's a big difference there. And I think it changes her perspective because, again, back to that old tale that's not all that great of you'll do anything for your children. So I think that her having a child, whether she has it or not, changes the dynamic for the human race completely, but it doesn't mean that her giving birth, if this makes any sense whatsoever, is going to change the dynamic. I just think the process of her being pregnant, the actual event of this happening to her, changes her perspective and shows a different dynamic and agency within her programming. And I guess I'll leave it at that. I don't buy into
Well,
any of it.
well, I like you. I do think it's going to make her essentially more human. I did have a theory that just popped in my head, and we got visions of a previous civilization that was on that planet. In my opinion, a dead or dying civilization. What if this baby isn't hers at all? But what if it's one of the beings that implanted that used to live here before? I mean, it's half carbon, I guess. It needs plasma, but I think there could be something bigger tying in here. Let's say this AI is originally from this planet. Maybe it's trying to create its own race. If it's not Caleb Sturgis, I just gotta not Caleb's Campion Sturgis.
Mm-hmm.
Just throwing that out there. That it's manipulating her, and this will be a whole different race. As John Taylor said, there's a map, an animated site view of the planet, which you can find another ship on. It seems to be a third party ship called
Yes.
can't even see it now.
Is it
But
something
there's
like
and
it's like a spider or something, right?
yeah, tarantula, that's it. And we know there's someone else there. And we also know there seems to be hooded figures that at least are capable of doing a Monty Python sketch walking through the streets with their crosses hitting themselves in the head. Sorry, uh, that reference that went over everyone's head because I was horrible at describing it. But
No,
no,
it's Monty Python. I get what you're going at. My thing is with the series is that we are looking at the idea of there's a difference between wanting to help other children and then raise your own. So there's a sense of self. So this series, the reason which I disagree with the planet having intelligence in itself, there's a common thread which I don't think is obscene. It's not this Westworld simulation, which I called bullshit on. For the record, I was always right and will always be right about that. It was bullshit. But no, I'm not going to take a pompous stand on it because I actually see the substance of it. But I will argue against it, meaning a lot of people are saying that there is this artificial intelligence that resides within this planet, Kepler 22, right, Johnny? And this is what is causing these voices to Marcus, Caleb, blah, blah, blah. And this is what's happening. My argument is that it's not about that. I stick with my mad theologian perspective on Campion Sturgis because everybody that is doing what they're doing is not doing what they started this story, meaning their motivation and their actual, like, the causality is not in line with it. Everybody has this juxtaposition. Everybody has this conflict. Everybody is working in this abstract way. This is a theologian's sandbox to me. I think that, yes, there is definitely somebody that is leading Marcus astray. There's somebody that is leading all these people in one direction or another, but I think it is a general understanding. It's like, okay, so should androids raise our children without any spiritual beliefs that don't have any scientific or have no, like sturdy foundation within scientific reason? Well, probably not, I guess, if you look at that at face value. But we've been forced, as our characters have been forced within the story, to step outside of our comfort zone and think, what is the benefit of spirituality? And those who have this overwhelming sense of spirituality and ignore reason and logic in order to sit by a hot stone instead of go and try to get their kids, they're faced with the opposite. So I think this is clearly an ant farm in my estimation here, and there's clearly something at play that is making people go against what they find to either be their scientific or spiritual belief, at least at the very foundation. So I think that Mother being pregnant doesn't mean that she's making some super race or something like that. I just think that it's different because before we saw how insensitive she was with Tempest, who was somebody that is a victim of rape, right, Johnny? So Tempest was going to give birth, so she's like setting up this like I forget how to exactly phrase it, but this birthing system that's not exactly organic, and it doesn't really look at sympathy or any type of like emotional aspect. It looks at like like the percentage of like survival rate. So her dynamic is, I just need kids to live. Now when she has her own kid, or she's pregnant with a child per se, she is forced to look at it as something that is a extension of herself. And to have an android in which looks at a biological being as an extension of themselves bridges the gap in which I think the series is all about. And I think the series
It gives
is
her
very
a non-superficial reason for living as well.
Thank you. Right? Like, what more could we get from these people? We have Marcus that is going down this hole
die at some point.
No, that's interesting. Can we talk about that a little bit? Johnny brought this up when I'm sorry, guys, but I just watched the last episode. And Johnny brought this up. He goes, she's gonna die. And I can't really like that. Does make a lot of sense. In the aspect of she serves a purpose to be this sort of a vassal for not only spirituality or science or belief systems, blah blah blah, but also she's also this like nuclear power to a point. And Johnny, you were saying that she can't survive past this, right? It wouldn't make a lot of sense.
No, and I think what the showrunner said about her, which it doesn't mean she's gonna die at the end of the season, but I don't think she's gonna make it through the whole series. But because of how much she's went through, and and also the showrunner, I can't say his last name, Aaron Guzikowski, maybe that's it. And I'll just read the last little bit. But anyway, she's more akin to a nuclear bomb than she is to the kinds of androids we've seen in other kinds of films and TV. She represents something larger, both God and the devil, the beginning and the end. A little bit more of that. And the finale is titled The Beginning. So she is Alpha and Omega. You could even say that she is a part of what is perceived as God there. We don't know what her connection is, but it seems to be a connection on a level that's what do you call it? Damn it, a quantum physics level, with the photons and
it's
like,
metaphysical. It's immaculate conception, right? Like it's unexplainable how she is pregnant, but she is giving birth to a child that is supposedly probably a spawn of her creator, Campion Sturgis. So this, is in jive with a lot of theology in which we follow. And it's always been unclear with this series in which the timeline of the world, it seems to be like treated as somewhat within line with what we experience but also, like, obviously the Mithraic ways have been, very prominent throughout ancient times, all the way to Hellenistic. But in recent times, it's not as strong. So I guess you'd have to assume in the 2030s that it would come back around. But at the same time, what Johnny's saying is that, these are belief systems that, for all intents and purposes, this is your Mary, right? Mother is Mary. If you look going by the Christianity, she's giving birth to a child without explanation because we can't explain it. And Joseph is gonna be like, I guess that's what's happening. Not to make a joke out of it, but yeah, there's this immaculate conception. So there's this moving event that goes against both the theology and the science of the world.
Yeah, and Bruce Seymour, I don't mean that she's going to die at the end of the season. Maybe next, she'll die before the end of the series, because if you look at the actual show, it's not about Mother. It is this season. It's about everything she has to go to. But even as Paul said, it's going to be about that child and all the events surrounding that. Um, and if you look at her character arc, she has went through every step a character could go through except for the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's not, if you want to put this a few more seasons ahead, what are you going to have Mother do to be a productive character in the show? You know what I mean? She can only do so much. Her eyes are gone, and it's just kind of from a storytelling perspective that she can only contribute so much to where it starts to become like a soap opera and recurring themes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that what Bruce is getting at, and I had to agree to a point, but also what Johnny's saying is that Mother is a character in which cannot stay at the same hierarchy, within the same hierarchy in which she's in, meaning the status with the power.
Yeah.
She has to either be stripped of it and devoid of it and have different motivations, and because Mother, for this point, it started off as what we knew, just as an android that was an atheist. Then we found out that she was actually created by the Mithraic, right? So who is Mother? That's an important question. So Mother, as we know her, in a symbolic way, in a metaphorical way, in an allegorical way, blah blah blah, can be changed because we don't know who the true Mother is. She has desires, she has wants and needs that are outside of her programming. So I think that it makes sense that we will not know Mother in the same way in which we know Mother in season 1. I agree with Johnny in the sense of we will not have Mother past season 2 in the same necromancer sense, meaning she will either have that power or she won't, because there is going to be a change. Because if you were to ask me who Mother is, I would say, well, give me a timeline and I'll tell you who she was during that time. So now what is happening is you have a series of events, causality within story, going into your actual, event in which is your catalyst for change. Her catalyst for change isn't Campion Sturgis or that vision. It's her with this child, whether she has it or not. This is her catalyst. So whoever Mother is after that, I could see residing within. The actress, yeah, likely residing within, kind of like Evan Rachel Wood does. But I agree with Johnny in the aspect of that Mother, in the sense that we know her, will either be full force Dark Phoenix for the rest of the time, or she will be something completely different. And we'll look at this. I mean, we have seen a character dynamic change within almost every single person within this series, and I think that if you were to keep her at that mantle like you are, you don't have a lot of room to maneuver story wise, and that's why I agree with Johnny on that. But no, I get what you mean. She's a main selling point of the story. Bruce is a smart guy. He knows, like, that's what we're tuning in for. Like, there's nothing against that. But I think that her death, not that it's out of the question completely, but Johnny, I think you would concede to the fact that it's probably likely that she could exist in some other form, right?
Well, she would still be alive to the AI on the planet. There's a lot of ways you can go here, because her character arc just needs to finish. She's right there before finishing what she's meant to do as a character, in my opinion. But we still need her origins. We still need other things about Mother, but not like you were saying. I think you put it better than I did, to where she's not going to be the focal point of the series continuing on. she is going to be, I think, at least through halfway through season 2, if not more. And that's just me, you know. I
No,
could
no,
be
I,
wrong,
I actually
but this is
really
what I think.
this was an icebreaker for me, and we just literally an hour ago watched the episode together, me and Jenny live, through the power of the internet, if you guys have heard of it. But no, and you know, like I love everybody that's in here, and I think that, you know, especially this chat right here is just full of, you know, you got Amberlyn, you got Bruce, you got Dante, and others, and they bring up valid points, like, you know, I understand why Bruce says, like, he can't see it. Like, I really do. Like, I get it, and I know he has a good grasp on this story. That's what's intriguing, because it's like, who is Mother? Where do we go from here? Because we are hinted to the possibility, right, of this third party, which I've been speaking of, but this is just common storytelling sense of they will have to go against something, so her power would be needed. So do we see her going out in somewhat of a blaze of glory, Johnny? Like, there's always those opportunities. Well, but there's also opportunities in which you can't have this ultimate power, because her powers are somewhat, it's kind of overt, which I appreciate, but like I've said it
Yeah.
before, they're limitless. Like, what can't Mother do, right? Like, what can't she do?
She,
You have to
she said
stop that at
herself.
some point. You got to tie it off. I think is what Johnny is saying, really. Like,
Yeah, tie that umbilical cord off. She's
you
setting
got to at
herself
some point.
up for a a noble, for oh god, I just had the words. She's setting herself up to give her life for the cause, to give her life for her child, to put her life on the line,
Yes.
to do anything it takes for her child to survive. That's what she's set up for. There's lots of things she can do in between now and then. Right now, she, in my opinion, is the key to what's happening on the planet, because whatever she's made up of, whatever that whatever substance she's made up of is connected to the substance on this planet. Also, if you remember the Flash from this last episode, where she reads the data card and she goes into the little simulation or whatever, she sees a ritual happening in a dodecahedron with a creature in it that's spewing Jurgen's blood out of its mouth, that white blood. So those creatures have to be connected. And I would say that Mother might be a little more organic than we think she is. Organic technology, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think what we're looking at is very emotional responses and very scientific and practical responses and actions towards the evolution of life as we know it. We are being asked a fundamentally simple question, but those simple questions always tend to be the hardest to answer. Meaning, what is the right thing to do in a situation? Mother is sent to this Kepler 22 within our galaxy. You know who you are, commenter.
With a 12 pack of babies.
Yeah, with a 12 pack of babies. But at the same time, what is best for the actual contradictions self within same things as human beings are? Every single person has been reprogrammed, whether it's through plastic surgery, ideology, actual reprogramming with Campion Sturgis and Mother, and you know, with Mother we don't know, I guess Father, his origin story still stands as just an android, but we're being faced with very simple, only believe in, you know, like things that are finite or scientifically feasible. And in aspects like this, these are things we always ask ourselves. These are things that we're faced with every day. What is the point of us being here? You know, we got coronavirus that's killing a bunch of people. We got this or that that's always going against us. What is the greater goal? Are we here to solve a problem, or are we the problem? And I think that's why Mother must be at least that she will not be the weapon anymore, but they need her, because we do see, and I want to talk about the cards a little bit, we see the struggle, and we see Dickhead Kid, I refuse to say his name, but he's just the dick that reprograms Father, and he is there, and they get these cards, and there's this symbolic, we are introduced to a third party, are we not, Johnny? Within these 2 episodes, we get our third party that I've been constantly talking about, the people in which they need to go against informed together for. But the interesting thing for me, and I know I'm long-winded and brevity is not the thing I'm great at, but at the same time, like, I'm very impressed that we have a third party as well, right?
Yes. Well, I mean, you talking about the third party as being oh, sorry, dog's going crazy. Reiterate what your third
These
party is.
Well, we
The
have
total.
these cards in which Paul burns. They're symbolic of some sort of intelligence. They are leading us to believe that the things that go down these holes are definitely being dictated by whatever power force resides within. It seems to be, I'm not buying into the whole the planet is a person thing. I think that's a little bit abstract. The series is a series just like Westworld that wants to say the objectified should not be objectified. And people have that there is, obviously, we know who it is, said a million times, can't be insurgents, but we have a third party with these cards, these symbols.
I don't know.
Well,
I know that I think this sets up the main antagonist for the rest of the season, for the rest of the series, as well as you're going to have your inner conflicts with this group of people, which is kind of the beauty of them coming together, because ultimately they're going to come apart at some point.
Yeah, and that's what I think. I think that what we're gonna see, and there is a threat of a too rushed path towards a consolidation of interests, meaning motivations tend to be the same. Meaning, what I always saw was there's going to be what's ever causing these pork monsters, as I like to call them, and whatever falls down the hole is, we all know my mad theologian theory, blah blah blah. I've said it a million times, but at the same point, what I think that we're seeing right here is a clear indication that there's an outside force that isn't necessarily trying to destroy them. They're pushing them towards like philosophical, theological, inner crises per se. Like,
Well, I think it has a dark agenda and just wants to breed demons, but we'll get into that later.
but no, but you get what I mean. Like, it doesn't seem like
Yeah.
they're outright trying to kill them. Like, it's more of a idea that they're trying to embed in them, other than a knife, in my opinion. Because there's not a whole. I mean, they're using Tally as a surrogate. They're using all of these external forces that are known within. So I think that the story is definitely trying to bind people of different belief systems together to fight against something. And that's where I stick with my mad theologian. But also, I think that season 2 is going to all be about, they have really heavily foreshadowed this as we wrapped up, the tropical zone, right? In which Mother speaks about.
There's a magnetic anomaly that would not allow them to land there. So
Yeah.
there's something going on there. We still could have some sort of civilization there. We know something comes up from the holes, your little nocturnal crazy beings like you were talking about. Who is that guy? Is that the crash lander that we've seen running around that's left the plates? Uh, I think the threat is what's manipulating them. See, that's where me and you differ on this, because I think what is manipulating them is the threat, not the threat to Mother. I think it favors Mother. Um, because I think Mother is made of the same stuff it's made of. Like, they are kind of the same thing, is what that's how I'm interpreted it. But I think it seems like this is what this show's trying to do to us, right? Like, what is going to happen? But it's more important are what the questions we're asking ourselves, and the questions you're asking, the the questions about the nature of reality and what it means to survive. And where do they go from here? They're just surviving at this point. What happens when they do get a chance to actually think about what's going on? That's where it comes in big. What's Sue really think about this baby? What do these people really, what does Sue want to accomplish with this, right? Besides being safe, now what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The 7 bases of human needs, like safety, supplement, meaning like you're safe, you can eat, and then there's, desire and so forth. And I really like that, because we do differ on that, because I think what you're speaking to is, I think that these this opposition is more poignant. in the sense of like they're actually like like I have this whole like college like or MK Ultra like event happening, right? Like so I think that
There's
this
some ergot growing on the
yeah, like don't get me wrong, guys, like I realize and I own that my theory is a little bit crazy. What Johnny is saying is you know, probably more likely, but yeah, that it is more just a force that happens to be a little bit more in line with androids than the humans, but it's not like some sandbox theory in which I'm saying, which I think there's a lot of validity to. So I think that those are the two stances that you could really take at this point of are these people naturally becoming more understanding of each other in the sense of I learned a little bit about you and you learned a little bit about me and we're all a better country bullshit. Yeah, probably, you know, like I don't know, like that's a little bit old fashioned for me. I think that there's a little bit more of a fantasy happening here. I think that there is things that Campion Sturgis did that are very intentional in the sense of they're not beneficial for any survival of life. I see a lot of things that are intentional in the aspect of making people have inter conflict, meaning you know, internalize these and have that happen. But at the same time, get pork monsters. They don't seem to be all that smart, so you know what I mean. Like they're just could naturally be a force. Yeah, pork monsters.
They taste good, apparently.
Yeah, they do.
But also, you got Paul, who this is gonna be probably one of the first things to get addressed, I think, in season 2 after this finale, and we get our climactic finale, which, you know, all likelihood this is building up to a good one, it seems so far.
Yeah.
But Paul seems to think this baby is divine from God, that this God is a gift from soul. And I can tell you right now, you know, Mother's not going to like that idea. And he can, you know, Paul may be the prophet or the stand-in for the prophet. You know, prophecies are a bitch. What do they bite your prick off every time? I heard from somebody one time. And
I'm sick of fighting. Johnny. Sick of it.
You know, he's the one hearing the voice. We got to worry about Paul now, right? We see what happened to Caleb, and, you know, he's burning evidence of something pretty awful that happened, as John Taylor said. Yeah, that white stuff with the head in the box. It looked like one of those creatures, but those creatures don't bleed white. Whatever bled white is android in nature, or I guess silicon-based creature.
Yeah,
Which that could be what the necromancer is, because they don't understand it. And it seems to have the same type of blood. There's definitely a connection there.
Don't we get a revelation of that too within this? That the necromancers, we know they're formed by the Etheric, but like there's still a little bit of a.
They just follow the algorithms that were in the holy text. They don't even know how it works. The equations. They don't.
This is ancient knowledge, people. This is the same reason in which we scientifically or architecturally could not actually replicate the Great Pyramids of Giza right now, like to the same extent in which they were. It's lost. It's playing off the same thing. I call it revolving civilizations, meaning I believe, this is just my belief, that there is intelligent life and it's kind of like a revolving door. We get to a point, maybe we nuke ourselves, maybe we genocide ourselves, maybe a comet hits, and it happens, and I think that life is like intermittent. You mean like, you know, it happens, we get to a point, and there's no reason for it all. It's all a lot of existentialism and a lot of bullshit like that.
With any form of life,
it is what it is. But I what I see here is a very interesting aspect, because Mother, what happens to Mother when she has a child? Like I said, it's not just that she'd do anything for her child, but I think that, and I've spoken about this before ad nauseum, like the spirituality that comes along with new mothers, and I've seen it fucking way too many times, that they get very spiritual because, and I'm not going to discount it, I'm not going to shit on it, but like I think that Mother would be more likely to subscribe to a faith because you want to believe, oh, now it's not just let me secure mankind. There is this relationship. She had Jurgen sex with Campion Sturgis, and now she's pregnant. So there's this sentiment that really, you know, dives into it, that I think that is an interesting dynamic. And you have Caleb and Marcus / Space Ragnar, 3 names. Thanks a lot, series. But but I actually understand his conflict, right? Because he is also in a situation in which we think logically, man, what are you doing, bro? Come on, man. Like, what are you doing? But at the same time, like, he has these external forces, these things in which we all experience in life to some extent, and in which are harder to turn off than we'd like to think, at least in my opinion. So I think the series has done a wonderful job, because when I first saw the previews for this, I thought, what a stereotypical tropey ass based bitch drama this will be. It has flipped itself on its head several times, and in a good way. I thought, oh man, so now it's just Caleb is acting like he's an Mithrax soldier. He's actually an atheist. I mean, the dynamic in the relationship within these characters has been so enticing, so entertaining, and in this COVID law, I mean, hey man, I'm loving the fuck out of it. I'm loving it, and I think that all the actors and actresses, we talked about Lucius in the past. I said he's either an idiot, right, or he's playing a game. Actually, it turns out to be right, that he was just ashamed of his father's deeds, but it finally, it got to the breaking point, and he fed Marcus a necromancer eye. So I don't know about you, Johnny. We've beaten quite a few people to death, me and you both. We'll admit that online right now. Have you ever shoved a necromancer's eye down somebody's throat? Do you think that seems like giving somebody a super
Let me
pill?
tell you what this is equivalent to. This is like, okay,
bad
so
idea.
me and you about to fight, all right? So
Let's go to it, man.
I'm laying it on you. I'm beating that ass, all right? I pull a jawbreaker out of your pocket and I shove it down your throat to try to make you choke on a piece of candy while we're in the middle of a fight.
I'm putting gum
That's
right
basically
here.
the same thing we got here. He should have took the eyes.
Yeah.
But this is a means to an end. As me and Justin were talking, this is to
like,
move the plot along because the plot demands it. And what we saw with Super Otho has to be some sort of indication of what's going to happen to Caleb. I have a feeling he's going to get like super corrupted, and it might even be kind of gross. But I think some cool things can come with that.
Because we've seen the folly in this way, right, Johnny? Like you just said, like Super Otho is not to be dismissed, people. Like, we've seen a person that supposedly speaks to Saul, right? And spoiler alert, the pedo doesn't end up having that great of a life, right? And rightfully so. So, like, but at the same time, we see Caleb, right, still fighting for it, and there's this belief. I'm sorry, Johnny. Lay that down. It's not like the blueprint hasn't been laid out for everybody, for both spiritual and non-spiritual, but they still insist on a higher meaning, and I think that is life as we know it. It really is, right? Like,
yeah, because even Mother's somewhat religious.
Yep.
Her God is Campion, and even Tempest noticed this. Like, people are noticing that she sounds like a believer. Oh, that's just silly. Well, when you're starting to believe in something, you kind of don't see it yourself. It just happens. Belief happens. There are things in our lives. There are things that shape us and mold us. And these people have been shaped and molded in a very quick fashion. And what I have to say, I can't understate this enough. Extreme circumstances. We're talking about a vast planet that there's only a handful of you there. Oh, by the way, the fate of human civilization is counting on you. No pressure, all right? Now go piss into a cactus or something. There's just like, the stakes are so high here. Now all of a sudden, hey, this android I know is this crazy bitch that screams and you explode. She's having a baby, so we're gonna have to take care of this problem now. Because if you look, what's so beautiful, the first episode, Mother, is unrecognizable as to now, and you can say that for almost every single character. And you touched on this earlier. That's the beautiful thing about this show. We get to see progression. These characters are Play-Doh, and they are being molded throughout the season as we're seeing it, and hardened in the fire. And I just came up with that off the top of my head. So
it's incredibly definitely it's intriguing. It's fascinating, And the most fascinating aspect of this is that these androids, they change we've seen changes in their programming that's done like without their having agency over it, but they changed within themselves without outside influence for what we've seen. That's very moving, and that is showing a range of consciousness and a range of emotion and agency. You know, like Johnny said, like this Alexa just told me that she was Baptist, and I got to take her ass to church on Wednesday nights, and it's bullshit. I hate it. But yeah, you know, I mean, like
secondary characters have more depth than a lot of main characters in shows you see today.
Yeah, as much as people say that this show is rushed, I can see some aspects of it. I would say in my only complaint, really, my big complaint, I actually don't. I think that the kids are doing a good. First off, maybe I have a little bit of a soft spot because child actors, it just sucks. It sucks to deal with. So I mean, it's not a new thing that's hard to deal with. But I think these child actors are very efficient, and I think that they're doing what they need to do. I think that they've played them, you know, within their boundaries, within the constraints of their ability. And I think that it's been really good. I'm really drawn in. I mean, I didn't think that I would have anything more than just a belief versus, you know, I mean, spiritual versus scientific, dichotomy by the end of the series. And we're faced with so many layers at this point, and they've done it somehow over the table, overtly, without actually being too heavy-handed on it. And I really got to applaud them because I've loved the hell out of it. I love my Patreons. I love Amberlyn. I love Bruce. I love Maura Lee. I love Tiziana Vitali. I mean, but they're good people. Like they like the show. They're interested in it. And I think it's because most of my Patreons come from Westworld, and there's a reason for that, right, Johnny? Like, we know these people. We know the questions, whether they agree or not. Like, yeah, Bruce might not agree that Mother's going to die. Want to know what? He might be right. There's a 50-50 chance. You know what I mean? Like, but it's because we're all thinking the same thing. Get it?
We all like to ponder life to the point where it scares the shit out of us.
Yes, like we're all desperately, intelligent, but also, we deal with situations in which, it's an existential crisis at all points. But no, these are people that I enjoy talking about story with. W.X. Foley's been in the chat and having his intriguing pork monster theories and so forth. And I really love talking about the human condition. Like, we all like to quote, that the biggest struggle is within and all that. But no, this is really a good embodiment of it. And I would say HBO Max, I would say, didn't have the launching pad it had until it had the series, guys. Like, it really didn't. HBO Max, the reason people have it right now is because of this series. And this series got a season 2, and I guarantee that there's going to be a lot of hinged on this series. I mean, like, they're going to...
It's a really good series. I can't believe they didn't put it on the actual channel, for one. But, I mean, I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I got a hold of it. I think... it's going a little bit under the radar, you know.
Yeah.
But it's not doing bad considering. It's a good what would you call it, base for HBO Max, I think. Yeah, I lost my what I was gonna say.
No, I agree. I think that this series was underwhelming in its marketing, but you can see the rise, and you can see that the promotion and the marketing has been, exponentially, like substantially, like increase because of it. Because there's people like us, and there is a benefit. Listen, I love all the nuances and allegorical takes, and symbolic ways in which Westworld tells a story, but you get a lot of nonsense when you get that too, like, because people can avoid it. People I've had on the show for long periods of time, unfortunately, they're like, oh yeah, I don't think robots or androids can ever feel anything. And I'm like, what the fuck are you, like, what, like, who are you rooting for? Why are you applauding this guy killing them? Then they're like, I don't know. It's like, okay, so you're leading, so like, they're saying, they're putting it all on the table here. And I think that there's benefits to that, but there's also benefits into the veiled take that Westworld. I'm not shitting on anybody. I'm just saying there's a certain amount of refreshment, Johnny, right? When they're like, hey, listen, fuckers, there's a robot. Do they matter? Let me ask you, not like, I don't think robots matter. And then, oh man, I'm so happy that robot got that dick. I'm like, what are you arguing against? Can you pick a fucking point here? I mean, I just like the clarity. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's more the, because a lot of people see human beings as greater than any other life form in the universe,
They're
right?
not
Which is
religious,
that's
but
just our
yeah, they're just
hubris,
better.
right? And
Yeah.
just either way. And you see this in the show between Campion and Paul. Campion respects all life, except Carbos, but he respects all life, whereas Campion's willing to kill lower creatures to survive and eat. Not Campion, but Paul. And I think you're going to see that dynamic actually play out through here. The only thing that would kill this show for me this season is if a xenomorph pops out of Mother. That's about it. Other than that, I think it's going to end pretty good, and I'm really happy with it. And it's always, that's something people don't talk about. One of the toughest things to do is end a season or end a series for TV because it's so long form and you build up so many expectations because people are with the show for so long and they invest way more into the characters than you would a movie. So, but I think they've set themselves up very well here. Of course, I know it's already done, the show is, but I think it's going to be good. Go ahead.
No, that's a valid point. And I can't thank you enough, for all the insight, because at the same time, they just did get greenlit for season 2. So we have to think that season 1 culminates in some sense of of completion, right? Like meaning like there's a end that is satisfactory. Kingdom, I'm going to give a few like shout outs to shows that if you guys are looking for things to watch. Kingdom was on DirecTV network. I forget the exact name of what they called it, but it's on net. But you know what I'm talking about, Johnny. It's got Nick Jonas, surprisingly enough, but it's actually a
bunch of fake cauliflower ear.
Yeah. Jonathan Tucker. No, but it's really good. It is about mixed martial arts. It's about it really is like a good like psychological.
It's a good portrayal.
It's a really good show about like people that fight and just the human in general.
Moms who are whores, stuff like that. Sorry.
But at the same time, what I'm trying to get at is that series is an example of a series in which they're hoping to get another season out of Netflix because they were not widely viewed because of the network. Not a lot of people thought.
Yeah, they were on a no-name channel.
Yeah, I don't remember. It's like a DirecTV channel.
Axis or something.
Something
like
crazy.
That.
Yeah, but now they're on Netflix and they're hoping to get it. But my point is that their season 3 finale ended up working out, but it wasn't meant to be a series finale, guys. I always talk about this within different mediums, meaning like you watch a show that's written for AMC, it has act breaks in it. That means cliffhangers within it. And I was talking with Bruce Seymour, one of my top Patreons, the big wigs. I'm gonna give you guys a less cheesy name. You guys are fantastic. Amberlyn and Bruce need a badass name. You guys got to think of one. Even if it's degraded to me, I'll take it. But no, we were just talking about, he was acting about like WandaVision, right? And I was like, oh, that as a concept is very intriguing to me. And these streaming services in general are very intriguing to me. Me and Johnny talked about this privately in the past as well, Mackenzie, Gray, and all that. Like we talked about, like we should do something about like what like these stories have been adapted to according to the medium in which they're conveyed. Because now we have Disney Plus, HBO Max, the Peacock network, Brave New World will be covered, and so forth. So yeah, we get a lot of interesting aspects of it, but yeah, like we'd have to think that the end of season 1 gives us a few finite answers, right, Johnny? And we're working on a video for that. It'll be out by I would say by Tuesday. Would be accurate around then.
Hey,
before next Thursday.
Before then, but
yeah,
we'll make sure.
Yeah, before next Thursday. So yeah, we're working on stuff like that. But yeah, no, I mean anything that can really dive into the human psyche and philosophy and even theology and stuff like that is always entertaining. Westworld is a little bit vague, so I do feel that there is a little bit of a nuisance that comes with that. Meaning you get a few people that just want to be like, oh, this is what this is, like they just can't. They don't have to take a stand. They can sit on the fence, or they don't have to acknowledge anything. So there is power in the ambiguity, but there's also a bit of fucking bull in it as well.
Well,
Maybe.
when
It is
Mother
what it
wakes up
is.
at
I'm
the
not
end
gonna
of
shit
next
on it.
episode,
Yeah, but yeah,
and
next
she was
episode,
in
what are we
VR
gonna
the
get?
whole time. I'm just
No, yeah. So that's it. But it does. I like that they're very straightforward with it. It's like, hey, assholes, what do you think about this? And then people actually, we have to answer. Like, I don't know. Mother having a child, that's something I really need to reckon within myself. Something I really need to form an opinion on. But at the same time, the dynamic I know is going to change because of it, right, Johnny? She is going to change her stance on birthing, on childhood, on raising a child, on being a mother, because she is now a mother in a biological sense, as we would put it, in a organic sense. So these are fascinating ideas, philosophies, blah. I can't thank you guys enough. I can't thank Johnny Be Crazy from House of the Conqueror enough. Let's see who's up in the chat. Episode Club with Mackenzie L. Burns. Kingdom, I remember watching a few episodes back. Kingdom's really good. Amberlyn. Oh,
it's got Joe Daddy Stevenson in it. Why
Joe Daddy, baby. Who is it? Who plays him? Is it Frank Grimes? I want to say Grimes. That's
Frank Grillo.
Grillo. Yeah, he was a boxer.
Yeah.
So The Expanse is gonna be so good. Yeah, The Expanse is one of those things that it's like Amberlyn is like one of my best supporters and one of my good friends personally. Full disclosure, but I read the first book that she sent me, and it's one of those things that I feel like I can't do unless I just go all in on, because The Expanse is such a good story that like you have to like do its service. You can't just like spitball it. Not that we do.
Yeah, we got like 3 seasons behind.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, and we don't take this like not seriously, but at the same time, like I feel like I'm so behind that train that I feel like just a cock, like trying to leech onto it.
Well,
but no, I love it.
I've seen you in my corner.
I
in
know,
the dark corner of my house before,
yeah, it's so damn good though. So, The Expanse is gonna be it is so damn good. And there's some things we can just appreciate. So, just like our supporters, I want to say thank you again to everybody. We will be back on Gray's channel for the Obsidian Road, talking about Rhaenyra. We're talking about the Dance of Dragons. This is one of my people right here that I go for consultation, and Mackenzie L. Burns as well. And we are paving that road up into the House of the Dragon, and I'm very excited about it. Very excited.
Dance of Dragons is a Broadway play, right?
Dance of Dragons. Yeah.
Trey Parker and
what you want, bro? He's very good. So Johnny is gonna be working on this channel in various aspects. He's currently writing a episode for this television series in which we're talking about. And so if you don't see him on camera, know he's always there. He's omnipresent. And my name's Justin Thomas. Thank you for showing up. The finale is next week. We'll have one actual polished video out for next week. Johnny's working on, and we will definitely see you on the Obsidian Road. Johnny, you wanna pitch it? You wanna explain some of that?
You want me to sling some of that? Well, get ready. No, we'll have 5 questions we need to have answered in the finale coming up, and I think it'll be pretty good. There's lots of things that happen. There's lots of things we need to happen, but I'm going to try to narrow it down to just 5, the 5 most important in our eyes. And of course, once the video comes out, you got to leave your comment of what's the most important thing you want to see, what questions you want answered in the finale, and maybe you can get some of those suggestions on social media, and if you get it in there in time, maybe your question will make it into the video. Who knows?
Maybe your question. Now you're turning into
But throw it out there.
That's right.
No, this has been really fun. I love this show. I didn't even expect to like this show so much, but it just kind of it's my thing. I love Ridley Scott, even though it's not necessarily all him, but anything he has any hand in usually is really good and up my alley. And with Ridley Scott, it's all about the androids. So you kind of just got to give it there.
Well, yeah, he put his pinky in in one of my creations, and he put it in a weird place, and I felt uncomfortable. So, but yeah, no, he, yeah, I was like, oh, Ridley, no, but yeah, he definitely is embracing a new medium, and it's something to look forward to. We get a few new, series that are going to be launching off. So yeah, just outsiders picks. Check out, definitely, we could check out Kingdom, check out Sons of Anarchy if you've not seen it.
About Nurse Ratched on Netflix is pretty
I've
good,
heard bad things about
it. It's an American Horror Story feel, and I would say it's a semi-guilty pleasure, but it's your typical scheming, evil woman protagonist, if that makes sense.
You typical women, you.
I thought I had fun with the show. Could you cover it or something? No, but it's fun to watch, but I don't think it necessarily portrays who Nurse Ratched was.
I saw Grace from Beyond the Trailer wasn't too kind to it, and she lifted her eyebrow, and I'm weirdly obsessed with Grace. Beyond
it's just not Nurse Ratched, but if you just take it as a psycho nurse, it's not that bad. It's like it's like American Horror Story light. That's the best I can say about it.
Yeah. I think that, I don't know. I stick with Grace.
Go watch One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. For sure, that's on Netflix right now.
No, HBO Max actually has a good, I just watched Richard Jewell. And that's Keith from Kingdom, and he's from my neighborhood. He's actually from Mount Clemens, like right outside of Detroit. He plays Richard Jewell, who was the security guard. His name was tarnished after the Olympic Games, because he just fit the profile of a fucking weirdo. But he was the one that saved everybody's life, and it's actually really good. And if you've ever seen Kingdom, you know who Keith was, right? Johnny, remember Keith? That's Ryan's roommate. He's from Mount Clemens. He's from where I'm from. Like, he's from the same neighborhood I'm from. He's an actor. He's the guy that he met after he got out of jail. Anyways, he played Richard Jewell's a good film. They got Munich on there, which I just watched. So it's and you got Rick and Morty.
Bad memory,
I saw that. Yeah, blank stare. Dead behind the eyes, like I always am. No, you did your job. No shame on that. That was from left field. But it's HBO Max. It does have a lot of good series on it. Just in general, I've been rewatching a little bit of The Sopranos, which is I can't tell if it's really good acting or bad acting. I still can't tell. Silvio is
you fuck.
Silvio's not a real human being. Like that guy doesn't act like a human being. Like he's not a real person. I don't know. But I do enjoy it. So HBO Max is I don't think there's anything, because I've been watching a few past Game of Thrones episodes here and there. I think you get everything that you can get off HBO regular. I don't know how marketing that. Also, just if you get $1 on a credit card, go ahead and put it on there. Get weeks free perpetually. But no, can't thank you enough, Johnny Be Crazy from House of the Conqueror. We will have that video out for the top 5 things that we need to know for this finale. Fuckers, but listen, I don't know shit about us. Please, respectfully.
Yep.
But no.
If you like space worms, check it out. I don't know.
Fucking do. Can't thank you guys enough. Thank you to my Patreons at Sport Creativity. Thank you to Maura Lee. She just updated her pledge and increased it, and I can't thank you guys enough. Me and Gray have been working all week on the stream for this Sunday. We will be back on that Obsidian Road and kicking Bill's ass if they want to. So, which they don't. So we'll play you out, and we will see.
The new world that you start won't have the same problems that